This week on Christian World News, it's the epicenter of global terrorism, where groups like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Boko Haram are fighting for power. Learn how it's sowing chaos around the world.
Plus, if you build it, they will come. That's not just from the movie Field of Dreams. It's what Michael W. Smith heard from God 30 years ago. See how the singer built an outreach that's helping Nashville's at-risk youth.
And a man receives his sight, and a paralyzed boy walks. We take you to Jerusalem's Garden Tomb, where miracles are still happening today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Christian World News. I'm George Thomas.
And I'm Wendy Griffith, and happy Easter to you and to everyone.
Happy Easter to our viewers as well.
Well, a vast and unforgiving part of Africa known as the Sahel is becoming a powder keg. Terrorists are turning this region scarred by poverty, conflict, and despair into a battleground.
That's correct. Extremist groups like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Boko Haram could soon cause this fragile landscape to collapse. Here's my report from the heart of the crisis. The Sahel stretches east to west across portions of 10 African countries, including Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Chad.
It spans thousands of miles, very remote.
Here, the sun beats down relentlessly, the air dry and stifling. People live in the shadow of the Sahara and struggle to survive.
The life in the region is very harsh.
The reality is brutal, with 80% of the population living on less than $2 a day. It's a place where survival often feels like a constant battle. The governments across the Sahel are weak, torn apart by political instability and corruption. And into this void have stepped Islamic extremists.
The Sahel's the epicenter of global terrorism.
Steve Keleleia's organization, which publishes the annual Global Terrorism Index, shows the Sahel has become ground zero for global terrorism, surpassing even Afghanistan and Iraq.
What we find is the number of deaths there have increased 10 times since 2019.
More than half of all terrorism-related deaths worldwide occurring here. The primary perpetrators are ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Terrorism analyst Bill Roggio, editor of the Long War Journal, says these groups, despite being bitter rivals, share a common vision.
They want to establish a global caliphate and impose their harsh version of Sharia or Islamic law on the people.
Rida Liamori, a Sahel expert at the Morocco-based Policy Center for the New South, tells CBN News that ISIS and Al-Qaeda are rapidly expanding their hold.
When we talk about the Sahel and the conflict, we are referring mainly to the three countries of Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, but also we can include parts of Chad and Mauritania.
The signs of this unraveling are clear. Since 2000, there have been 6 coups in the region.
You have weak African governments. You've had multiple juntas that have overthrown established governments that have been friendly to both the United States and the French. And it's become a very, very dangerous area.
Here in Chad's capital, in N'Djamena, residents fear instability in neighboring nations could spill over its borders.
This part of Africa is complex. We have war in Sudan, instability in Libya, Burkina Faso, and Mali. All these countries are in a state of chaos, and that can have an impact on Chad.
While Christian humanitarian organizations like World Vision are trying to help, the situation remains dire. In western Chad's Lak province, Boko Haram's violent cross-border raids have left a trail of destruction by abducting women and children and forcing thousands to flee their home.
It's a triangle between 3 countries, Chad, Niger, and Nigeria. Because of the militancy, they drive people in different directions through their activities. And so our humanitarian imperative drives us to go into these places because we know most of the people affected by this are women and children.
In the last couple of years, the United States, along with the French, have really helped the Chadian government to come up with a very strong anti-terrorism unit that has aggressively gone after ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Boko Haram elements operating within the country. The West, which once tried to stabilize the region, has been kicked out. The U.S. and France have been forced to withdraw from key bases in Chad and Niger, leaving behind a power vacuum that extremists are eager to fill.
The U.S. spent hundreds of millions of dollars to build the airbase in northern Niger, and then suddenly they have to leave everything behind. And it's the same thing, they have left Chad, they have left Mali, and they have left this void.
Giving the terror groups more freedom.
A country like Burkina Faso, half of it is considered to be under the control of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda controls significant portions of Mali. The Islamic State also has significant presence in Mali and in Niger.
Kelalia adds the threats are not confined to just these countries. Togo, Benin, and Ivory Coast now face danger as well. In February, Moroccan authorities arrested several individuals plotting attacks on behalf of ISIS. As the West retreats, Russia is seeking influence, securing arms deals with Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. In early April, their foreign ministers visited Moscow, where Russia pledged to arm and train a 5,000-strong force.
In return, what Russia gets is access to a lot of the natural resources within these countries, especially gold.
Giving the Kremlin additional funds to continue its war against Ukraine.
I would also add to that, the Russians are looking to deal a blow to U.S. and European influence within Africa as well.
With Western powers withdrawing, Russia expanding its presence, and local governments faltering, the Sahel faces an uncertain future. Experts warn the growing Islamic threat will further destabilize the region. Jeff King is International Christian Concern. He's with the group there, and he joins us now for more. Jeff, this is the Easter season, and we all know that during Christian holidays, the persecution of Christians gets worse. Tell us what's been happening there in recent days.
Well, there's attacks all over the region. This has been going on and escalating for a while. In Nigeria, which is really these are the same fighters that are doing their work in Nigeria, and it's really the Fulani tribe. That's kind of the secret sauce to understanding the whole situation. But they're attacking constantly; it never stops, and they're really trying to rebuild the caliphate that they had in the 1800s. Like I said, it's hard to understand with all the acronyms of all the different fighting groups. It's Islamic terrorism, and it's the Fulanis that are the hidden hand.
What can the U.S. and other governments do to intervene right at this moment?
Well, it's such a tough situation because these are largely lawless areas. It's Islamic terror, so it's the same battle we're fighting everywhere. But I would say, especially in Nigeria, it would do a world of help if the U.S. would appoint a special envoy. And that's basically, I think of it like an ambassador, but laser focused on just the issue of religious terror and the attacks on Christians. And if that happens, they're going to unravel the Fulani hand, the hidden deep state in Nigeria, as well as the connection all across the Sahel.
And as I mentioned in my report, you see this nexus between Boko Haram, between ISIS and Al-Qaeda, all working within these lawless spaces. And really, Muslims and Christians equally suffer at the hands of these radical Islamic groups, right?
Yeah, I mean, these are terrorists and they're trying to gain control. So they're definitely focused, on Christians. I mean, that's the thing. They want to establish a caliphate. They want to see Islam, fundamentalist Islam, to have free reign and to control the region. So they're going to fight to gain power and to take over governments and territories.
And we look at the African continent, the southern part, Christianity is flourishing. People have told me about this sort of battle between Muslims coming from the north, Christians from the south. And this whole idea is to turn the African continent into an Islamic land.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And in the southern hemisphere or southern part of Africa, it's probably, apart from Iran, the fastest growing church in the world. It's incredible what's happening there. And we can also look at what's going on through the spiritual lens. And it's a great battle. It's the longest running battle in history. It's for the souls of mankind. And, Islam is a weapon.
Real quickly, how can we pray for our brothers and sisters in the region right now?
We just have to pray for courage. And we've seen so much of that, with the Christians of Nigeria. But this is a long battle. This is harrowing. So we need to pray for courage. And above all, just like us when we suffer, that we would be connected. We would stay connected to the Lord and run on his power. It's always the secret to life.
Fantastic. On that note, Jeff, thank you so much, as always, to have you on the broadcast. It's a pleasure.
Great to be with you.
Wendy?
Up next, 30 years ago, Christian singer Michael W. Smith heard a message from God. Today, that heavenly word is helping at-risk youth reach their dreams.
Welcome back. Nashville is known as Music City. It's also home to one of the country's most famous inner city ministries. Rocktown has a coffee bar, an indoor skate park, and a recording studio.
For 30 years, it's been helping kids stay off the streets and find Jesus. Here's my report from Nashville.
Whether teenagers are into skateboarding, video games, need a hot meal, or just a place to do homework, they can find it here at Rocketown, an outreach with a mission to help young people experience the love of God. The mind behind Rocketown, now in its 30th year, is Christian music artist Michael W. Smith. He tells CBN that back in 1991, he literally heard God say,
"Build it and they'll come." And I kept thinking, no, that's the baseball movie. That's Kevin Costner, and I just kept hearing, build it and they'll come, build it and they'll come. And so I did a bunch of research and we had meetings and everybody said it would never work. And 3 years later, we opened up Rocketown in Franklin, Tennessee.
CEO Kenny Alonso says their first priority is getting kids in the door.
If it's going to excite a kid and get them in the building, we're going to do it. And so once they're here, we get to love them and care for them and provide for them and try to be the hands and feet of Jesus. I know that's said a lot, but honestly, that's what we do.
Who's coming here to Rocketown?
We are within a mile from the most violent public housing community in the state of Tennessee. And that's saying something because Memphis is pretty rough. And we have a lot of kids that come out of that community, and they are here in their safe environment every single day. We've had everything from couch surfers who have a home but they don't want to stay there, to kids that live in storage units with mom because they don't have anywhere to go, and then some kids from the street, and they just come in here because they can get warm when it's cold.
Ages here range from 10 years to 20, with a focus on high school students, like 15-year-old Lemmy Sanders, who enjoys skateboarding and working in the skate shop.
What does Rocketown mean to you, Lemmy?
Rocketown means, for me, is just being in a community that you do fun things for kids like me.
A safe environment, a fun place, and a great place to meet new people.
Another cool feature of Rocketown, a recording studio for those who feel called to the music industry.
That's a no-brainer to me. We have a lot of creative kids, and so this gives them an outlet to go in. And with technology today, you can do some pretty extraordinary things.
One of the highlights here at Rocketown is every Thursday night they have family dinner where everyone gets a delicious hot meal and hears an encouraging message. But tonight, one family got a big surprise.
25-year-old Donnie Gordon spent much of his time as a teenager right here. Now, married with a child and one on the way, Rocketown leaders knew his family desperately needed a vehicle. And thanks to one of their partners, the Gordons received this minivan.
Did you see this coming?
No, I did not. This is a wonderful feeling. It's a blessing.
Speechless is the words. We could not have expected a better gift, especially to provide us transportation. That's all we needed.
In addition to a legit coffee bar and after-school program, Rocketown is most famous for its indoor skate park.
We started out as a dance club in Franklin, and when we moved downtown, we built the skate park. And so we've had a skate park down here for over 20 years. We went after kids that were not traditional athletes, that were not connected with extracurricular activities.
Ari works in the skateboard shop and drives over an hour to get here from Kentucky each day.
I came here for the first time probably last summer, and I don't know, it just kind of felt like a family right away.
I noticed that you were the only female out there skating. What is that like?
It's kind of different. So in Florida, we have quite a bit of females. There's only about 3 or 4 that I've seen out here. So it's different, but the guys are very uplifting. They're very nice, always push me. So it's super sweet out here. I like it.
And as far as sharing the gospel with these kids, Alonzo says,
our motto is you have to earn the right to speak into a kid's life, and that takes time.
Some of the background stories you hear, like, you know, like a girl, her dad's in prison and her mom's a prostitute. What do you do with this kid? You just love on him. And a lot of people didn't understand our philosophy. They were upset with us because we weren't more direct about the gospel. And sometimes I think you have to earn the right sometimes, especially when you have a very troubled teen who has a lot of damage. They don't trust anybody. And so you have to earn their trust. And that's our methodology of just, we're going to love kids into the kingdom, but we're going to love them first.
Smith says the vision now is to take this idea to other major American cities.
People started hearing about Rocketown, and they would come and visit Rocketown. And would you please come and build one in Seattle? Would you please come to Minneapolis? Just a plea from so many people that said, we want to replicate what you guys are doing in Nashville and bring it here. Can you help us do that?
Alonzo says seeing these young lives changed never gets old.
I get emotional talking about our kids because we're not in this for a year. We're not in it for a lifetime. We're in it for an eternity.
Building relationships.
And build it, and they will come, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
And for 30 years. And now people want this in every major city. Yeah. I think it's going to happen.
That's awesome.
They have the vision.
Folks, we'll be back right after this.
Welcome back to Christian World News. Jesus rising from the dead is the most celebrated miracle in Christianity.
In the very place where many believe that wondrous event happened, pilgrims report miracles, signs, and wonders still happen. Paul Strand tells us more from Jerusalem's Garden Tomb.
The great miracle of Jesus Christ's resurrection took place right here in the Garden Tomb, or one much like it. But the miracles didn't stop then. They still go on today, and even right here. Cesar Fleitas works here and recalls a time when a man from Romania came here who had incredibly poor eyesight. Then this man walked into the tomb.
He wanted to look at the symbol that is inside the tomb, the symbol of a cross that has the Greek letters, and he wasn't able to make out the symbol very well, so he removed his glasses, and then all of a sudden he was able to see perfectly. I hear the men screaming inside the tomb saying, I can see. Of course, he was speaking in Romanian. His pastor, who was standing nearby, he translated for me. He said, he can see.
Another miracle that took place involved a boy who suffered from hydrocephalus, an abnormal and dangerous buildup of fluid deep in the brain. Now, every year, his family came from Ecuador to the Garden Tomb.
This young man, Giancarlo Rodriguez, was that little boy, and back then he was paralyzed from the waist down due to the hydrocephalus.
20 plus years ago, they came as a family. They brought the son inside the tomb, and as they were praying, all of a sudden they hear their son crying. The husband turned around to look back to see what was going on, and then all of a sudden they see their son standing there. And that was the miracle. The healing took place at that moment.
Before that healing, Giancarlo's sister had lost her faith.
She couldn't understand why God would allow such a thing to happen to her brother. But then after she saw the healing that God performed in her brother's body, that became the turning point in her life.
I simply want to say that Giancarlo is proof that God is real.
As for Giancarlo's whole family now,
they're all involved in ministry, serving the Lord.
Liz Tingman chronicles signs and wonders that happen at the Garden Tomb. She told CBN News about Pastor Hobson Laura. He'd suffered an extremely painful, unending headache since he was 13. Then in 2010, this 48-year-old visited the tomb.
He suddenly was overwhelmed with this uncontrollable urge to weep as he went into the tomb. And then he came out and he went on to the area over here near the olive trees, and he said he just held on to an olive tree because he was weeping uncontrollably. And he said he was praying for 40 minutes. And when the weeping stopped, he realized that he was healed. He had no headache. And he'd had this headache since the age of 13.
Fleitas experienced his own miracle when a visiting Brazilian pastor came out of the tomb insisting God just told him to pray for Fleitas' healing. Little did he know, Fleitas had been suffering from sharp liver pains for years.
And he looked at me and he said to me, I want you to understand that the power comes from the Lord. It is the Lord God Almighty that heals you. And then he anointed me with oil and he prayed over me. And that sharp pain that I was experiencing was gone, completely gone.
And forever?
Yes, it's gone.
Tingman also recalled a Japanese non-believer who a guide took around, starting at the overlook of Skull Hill, where many believe Christ was crucified.
And she took her to Skull Hill and explained about Calvary and so on. And this woman said, she spoke English, she said, I know nothing about Jesus Christ. Tell me more. She went into the tomb, and my colleague said when she was in the tomb, she was visibly moved. Something was moving her, and she was weeping, actually. And she said, I can see him. And my friend said, what can you see? She said, I see a man with a crown on his head. Now, this is a woman who didn't know anything about the gospel stories. And she said, it's not a gold crown. And she began to describe a crown of thorns on this man's head that she was seeing.
If you don't know this Jesus Christ, well, we Christians believe that he can save you, heal you, perform a miracle for you right now on the spot. All you have to do is pray and ask him. That's the good news of Easter. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from the Garden Tomb, Jerusalem.
He is risen.
He is risen indeed.
Happy Easter, everyone. Goodbye, and God bless you.